Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's facts. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best.
I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Back from a unscheduled 1 week hiatus of the last round. We skipped a week, but we're now back at episode 27 of the Last Round Podcast. I'm Danny Z alongside Michael Shepard. How's it going, Mike? You were at the fights this past weekend, so you had a busy weekend. What's going on?
Yeah, another busy week. Seems like every weekend there's like 1-2 cards, Top Rank and DAZN this week. So busy.
But before we transition into all those fight reviews and previews, which I don't even think we have too many cards coming up in the next week or so.
A rare week off.
It's a rare week off.
Yeah.
We have a rare week off. We actually have somebody calling in, special guest on the line. Who do we got, Mike? Who's on the line?
Former IBF World Bantamweight title holder, Randy Caballero.
Randy, thanks a lot.
What's up, man? How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on the show.
We appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in. Randy was actually, to our listeners, he was supposed to call in last week, I think, but we had some scheduling issues with the show, so we had to skip a week. But we appreciate that you've agreed to jump on this week on the next episode. So what's going on, Randy? What's been going on? We know you were supposed to fight in February, right? At Fantasy Springs. And then, there were some scheduling issues or something happened where you didn't end up fighting. So what's going on in regards to that and what the future's coming up?
Well, after my last fight last year, about last year when I fought Diego De La Hoya, I went into that fight with problems already. I was dealing with pains way before that on my foot. And after that fight happened, I couldn't take the pain no more. It was just unbearable. The whole training camp was just not even a real training camp, man. I had to go through with the fight. And then after that fight, I said, you know what, I got to get checked if I want to come back and fight again. So I went to a doctor. I was going to different doctors. No one would tell me what's wrong. Finally, I found a doctor that, found out that my ligaments are too tight, and they found an extra bone inside my ankle that needed to be removed. So I said, hey, well, let's get surgery. Let's get it done. So I recently got surgery done in October, and now I'm going to therapy. The doctor had told me that he's hoping within 2 more months with the therapy, I'm able to go back and start running and doing a little bit more workout. So I'm hoping everything goes good, and I do get to come back because I'm actually dying to come back. Watching all these fights, all these kids coming up, fights in my hometown. It drives me crazy only being able to watch them and not being inside that ring of doing what I love doing all the time.
No, absolutely. So, I'm glad that you mentioned that you had the ankle injury, you had surgery and stuff, because there's been people asking us, especially how we told them you were going to call into the show, like, hey, what's going on with him? Why is he so inactive and stuff like that? And like, oh, well, listen to the show. I'm sure he'll fill you in on what's going on. So you were out because obviously you had the medical injury about it, and you had surgery and stuff. So it wasn't like it wasn't any promoter issues or anything like that. Just to throw that on the table.
No.
Right?
I'm still with Golden Boy. I'm sure once I come back, they're still gonna work with me. I touch base with them on a daily basis when I have doctor visits and everything that's going on. I let them know. My brother's actually signed with them, so I'm still with them. I'm real good with Robert Diaz. I touch base with them. We talk, here and there, aside from boxing and stuff. So, I'm still in good terms with them. I'm actually too. I'm also wanting into venturing in managing fighters as well. So, there is a kid that I'm working with that is from Hawaii. That kid is coming up that's represented the U.S. team for many years. So, I'm, like I said, I want to stick around boxing, whether it's inside the ring or not. My hopes and dreams are to stay with boxing, whether it's in commentating, managing fighters, anything to get me into boxing, because it's what I grew up doing. I love the sport, and I just want to stick around with it.
Do you want to drop his name, Randy, of the fighter that you managed?
Publicize him, man. Throw it out there.
What was that?
Publicize your Hawaiian fighter, man. Because I think that's kind of intriguing that he's from Hawaii. Throw his name out there if you want. Publicize it.
Oh yeah, his name's Asa. He's 18 years old. The kid's fought in international tournaments. He recently went international and came back with gold medal and the best fighter out of the whole tournament. Kid's very talented. I recently just talked to him about a week ago, and he said, I'm ready to turn pro. I guess he ended up getting a hand injury, sparring actually, hit some guy and his hand got fractured. So he was off for a while, and I think the team kind of pushed him aside and said, you know what, we're not going to use you right now. So he's kind of bummed out, but I told him, don't rush it. This is a whole different ballgame. Aside from amateurs and boxing, they're two different things. In the professionals, you don't want to jump into something just like that. I want you to make sure you're making the right decision on what you're doing, not just, jumping in because, they're pushing you aside and you want to make money. That's the last thing you ever want to do. So, I've talked to him and it's been a back and forth talk, and I think he's ready to make the change. And the kid's, like I said, the kid's very talented, and I think he can become a superstar. And, and his mentality, a lot of kids are like, oh, I just want to turn pro already and make money. This kid is his mindset's like, I want to win a world title, 119, 122, 126. That's the fighters, you want to go with.
When you get back in the ring, Randy, are you still going to be training with your father?
Oh yes, of course. I'm still in good terms with my dad. I don't have no intentions to go anywhere else. Then I got to sit down with my dad and see if he's still willing to want me to go back. I told my whole team, my family, I said, look, let me take this time to recuperate, get back on my feet, come back. And when I come back to the gym, if you guys don't feel, and if I don't feel my body the same, that it's not, the same head movement, my timing's there. If it's not there, I won't come back, because there's no way I'm going to risk my life. I got 4 kids, and I'm not going to risk my life stepping inside that ring. It's a dangerous sport, and getting back into something that's very dangerous like that is too risky. So, if I come back, I got to make sure I'm 110% ready to come back. And because to be honest with you, I still feel I have what it takes to win another world title. Luckily, I got to capture a world title, and I think I still have that. I still have it in me to win another one. So I'm hoping I get to come back and do that.
Coming back at super bantamweight?
Yes, I'm still going to come back on 122. I made 122 perfectly fine. Off of what happened 118, it's still a mystery. It still kills me today of the way I lost my title. It still haunts me till today. I still think about it every single day of what had happened. And if I wish I had an answer to ease myself about it, but there's still no answer of what happened, how my weight skyrocketed 6 pounds overnight. I'm not drinking anything, eating anything. It's still a mystery, and it, like I said, it still haunts me till today. Even when I bring it up and talk about it, like, hey, people ask me what happened that day. If I had an answer to give you, I would. But it's still it's a crazy thing that happened, and I have to move on and live with it for the rest of my life. I lost my title on the scale, but things happen.
It's an exciting division with Ray Vargas, Danny Roman, Navarrete, Dogbe, GJ Johini.
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think about all those champions?
I think they're all great fighters, man. They're all tough fighters, and as a fighter, I study them and I see weaknesses, and I would love to fight either one of them. Anybody with a title. My dream is to come back and win the WBC title. Ray Vargas, tall, lanky fighter, but like I said, I seen a lot of weaknesses in him that can be exploited, and I think I have what it takes to beat him. Like I said, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Keep going.
No, I just said I think it'll be a great fight to come back. I'm not saying I'm going to come back and jump straight into a title fight, because that's the last thing I would do. I want to come back, take a couple tune-up fights, hopefully 2 tune-up fights, see how my body feels, and if there's the chance, then I'm going to go and shoot for those title fights.
Coming from you as a pro, as a professional fighter, how does a guy like Ray Vargas, being so tall and the way he is, like how does a guy like that make 122 pounds? In your opinion?
still to this day, I wonder how he does it. You know, I'm short. I'm not all fat and stuff. And, you know, to make 118 was like, man, it was hard. And to see someone like that tall, you know, very skinny though. His arms are very small. His legs are very small. You know, how does he make 122? I have no idea. But, you know, I think the style, my style will take it to him and beat him clear. You know, he's not an easy guy to beat. Don't get me wrong. I've seen his fight over and over, many different fights that he's fought. You know, he's a very tough guy to fight. You have to be very smart and stick to your game plan from round 1 all the way to round 12, because, you know, one mistake you make, he's going to counter on it, and it could end the fight early. So, you know, he's a tough guy, and I don't take anything away from him. But, you know, like I said, I think I have what it takes to beat that guy.
You know, look at like a local fight like Danny Roman. He'd be a good fight. Southern California fight.
Yeah, Danny Roman would be another great fight. I fought him in the amateurs. I think it'll be a great fight to get. You know, I know he's unifying this title pretty soon. So, you know, that's an amazing thing. That's something I dreamed of doing, you know, after winning my title. I told myself, hey, let's go and capture other world titles at my weight class. You know, unfortunately, I didn't get to happen. I tell people, man, it's sad to say, but, you know, when a fighter wins a world title, your first mentality is like, wow, I made my dream come true. And from here, now it's all straight uphill from here. And, you know, that's what I told myself. I won that title. I came home and I said, man, this is it. I fulfilled my dream. Now let's go capture more world titles in my weight class, the different belts. You know, let's go get it. And, you know, unfortunately, from winning the world title, my whole career just went straight down the drain. Like, from problems that I've had, you know, I went through so much. Aside from like what everybody knows, what I put out there, you know, I went from, you know, I was in another training camp. I ended up having to rush myself to the hospital because I was getting really bad pains in my groin. Come to find out, I had the kidney stones.
Oh, wow.
And then all of a sudden I go into another training camp and I was getting ready for a fight. And I get to the gym. I was there before my dad. Everybody got there. I put on my boxing shoes and I'm moving around. And all of a sudden I felt like a sharp pinch inside my shoe. And I'm like, I thought maybe it was a rock or something. So I just moved it around and I kept moving around. And then my dad got there. And everybody started getting there, our team that was there at the gym that day. And all of a sudden, I was moving inside the ring, and I felt something bit me very hard on my foot. I take off my shoe, and I throw my shoe, and why does a scorpion walk his ass out of my shoe?
Oh, my gosh. Get out of here with that.
And it's just like one thing hit after another with the foot problem that I've had before. And I got surgery on my foot before because of the cyst in my heel. And then had the surgery, got back, and then this problem that I had on my foot, had to get another surgery. Man, it's been constant, just one thing after another after winning that world title. And, you know, it sucks to say that, you know, winning that world title kind of took my career downhill. But, you know, I want to make a story, something, you know, most people is like, wow, like, how did he do it? Going from winning a world title, hitting rock bottom, and then coming all the way back up again to win another world title. And like I said, I'm gonna make that dream come true.
And for people who they heard like you say like, oh, a scorpion, what? Like he's from the Coachella Valley,
yeah.
So like there's scorpions out there. So people are like, what the hell, a scorpion? Yeah. So it all ties in together. He's like a scorpion, you know. So I'm sure there's people out there like UK or Australia are like, what the hell, scorpions?
No, yeah, I'm from the desert, man. You'll find some crazy stuff out here. And actually, it was hot at the time. You know, I had my bag inside my garage, and I'm assuming the scorpion was in there. And when I get home, I take everything out of my bag to let everything air out. And I'm assuming the scorpion felt comfortable inside my shoe. Good thing the scorpion wasn't, you know, venomous or very deadly or anything. Yeah. Just my foot swelled up really bad, and it was just really bad pain. Like I started feeling weakness, hot flashes and stuff like that, which, you know, kind of drifted me away from training for a while. But other than that, man, like I said, it was just a hard thing to go through after winning that title. Just problems after problems, and, you know, trying to get back on my feet. It was tough.
Randy, we have quite a big fan base from the UK. So I'm sure most of our big boxing fans will remember you from your fight with Stuart Hall, which was when you actually fought for the vacant IBF
I
world bantamweight.
I think he couldn't understand your accent, Mike. He was saying that we have a pretty significant fan base in the UK, and you referenced his fight in 2014.
Yeah, 2014 against Stuart Hall.
No, definitely, man. I have a lot of friends that are out there from out there. You know, I have a big fan base out there. Just I knew I didn't have a big fan base when I fought for that world title with Stuart Hall. You know, being pretty much, it was kind of his backyard. You know, he was not that far from where he's from. You know, walking into that arena, you know, not having nobody by my side. The one thing I tell people is crazy that, you know, I was out in Monte Carlo. We were, I think it was might have been like 2 days before the fight. We were sightseeing a little bit, you know, walking around. And we get to a gift shop, and this guy and his wife's there. My logo, I had a sweater with my logo and everything. And they're like, "Oh, that's a cool sweater. You know, where can we get that sweater? Where did you buy it?" And I was like, "Oh, it's my logo. I'm a boxer. I'm out here. I'm fighting for a world title." So we go back. We're talking here and there. And they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" I go out from, you know, Coachella, California. My dad's from Nicaragua, this and that. And the guy's like, "No way." He goes, "I'm from Nicaragua too."
Oh, wow.
So we ended up becoming close friends, and this guy ends up buying a ticket to my fight. They're out there on vacation. Him and his wife are out there on vacation. Ends up buying a ticket for my fight. This guy was sitting front row for my fight, and the only one that was screaming in the arena was him in my corner. That was it.
Wow.
And the rest was all for Stuart Hall.
Hey, but look at who came out on top, though. You know, like
no, definitely, man. It was like I said, it was a dream come true. You know, not many fighters have traveled overseas and won a world title. It was hard to do. Very, very little of them have done it, and I'm lucky to say I'm one of those guys that traveled overseas to leave their family, you know, and try to capture a world title, and I got to do it.
And you're right, though. You're right, especially when you're going essentially into enemy territory. I mean, coming from Southern California, the Coachella Valley, to, you know, essentially across the pond where Stuart Hall essentially has all his fans on that side. And you're coming in, and it's just like, you know, you not only have to fight the guy in the ring, you kind of have to fight the crowd, you know, not let it get to you, right?
No, definitely. It was very tough, you know, being around with all the smack talking, you know, from, I don't know if you guys ever seen the weigh-ins. It got very hectic. But it was pretty cool, though. It's a good way to hype up the fight. You know, everybody got intrigued on the fight. You know, I told everybody from the get-go that my fight's going to be the best fight of the night, and we did. We made it, you know, a fan favorite fight that everybody loved it. Actually, we weren't the main event. They ended up bumping us up to the co-main event, but after my fight was done, actually everybody left the arena. Everybody just took off. The arena for the finals, for the main event, was actually empty. But you know, it was a great experience. Everybody was very, you know, I met a lot of friends out there. You know, cool people. I got to meet, you know, a photographer from South Africa, and he became a good friend of ours, and actually flew to our hometown and stayed out there a couple days and hung out with us for a little bit. So, you know, it was, like I said, it was a great experience. We met new people, met new friends, and you know, just had a great experience of capturing that world title somewhere else.
So you said you fought Danny Roman in the amateurs.
Who got the? Oh yeah, that's right. Who got the best of who? Because you didn't mention that.
We'll try and start a little rivalry for you.
If I'm not mistaken, I think we fought twice. I think it was 1-on-1. If not, it was probably one. I think because I know one of them he did beat me. I think it was a tournament, and I ended up losing, coming short. But I think everybody in the fans thought I won that fight. Not taking anything away from that kid. Is a tough fighter. Comes forward, he tries to bang the body. He still fights the same way from amateurs to professionals. It's the same style. But, you know, I would love to get that fight. You know, I still remember that fight vividly. You know, I was upset when I walked out the ring, and when I actually walked out the ring, I never told much people that when I walked out the ring, they had like a little carton, and the bottom was like a little box, but it wasn't really stable, like it wasn't really steady on the floor. And I had stepped down, and like everybody was booing already, and I stepped down, and I just ate shit, man. I fell right in front of everybody, and it was embarrassing. I was like, I'm just gonna lay here and just knock it up. But yeah, man, it was a hard time. You know, amateurs, you don't want to lose, man. You're kids. You just want to win every tournament that they put in front of you. And unfortunately, I came up short on that one. But yeah, like I said, if I'm not mistaken, it was twice, but it might be once, and he beat me. But hey, the amateurs and professionals are way different. It's a whole different ballgame. If
it's 1-1, then we need a third.
Yeah, there's a rubber match in there.
Yeah, so like I said, anybody with a title, man, if I come back, if God lets me come back and gives me that strength to come back, I'll take anybody with the title, man. Anybody with a name, you know, just to come back and get my name back out there, because you know I've been gone for a year and a half. It's gonna be 2 years by the time I come back, because I still got another 4 months of therapy. So it's gonna be a long layoff, but like I said, I'm willing to come back, take at least 2 tune-up fights, see how my body feels, and then go from there, see where it goes.
So is it possible that you could come back in the fall of this year, or would it be safe to say that maybe sometime early next year?
Yes, I would hope. I don't want to jump into it too fast. I want to make sure my body's 110%. You know, maybe. If anything, it might be the beginning of the year. You know, if the end of the year my body still feels good, then I'll take a little tune-up fight here at Fantasy Springs, and then go from there.
Well, that's encouraging news, because yeah, man, you've been out of the ring for quite a while, and I mean I know it's pretty much out of your hands, and you know you got scorpions getting you, and then the injuries, the ankles, and all that stuff. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but you know, the good thing is that you're on the pathway to come back. Because like I said,
definitely.
Because like I mentioned earlier, you know, there was people who asked us when we told them you were going to call in, saying like, yeah, what's going on with him, man? Like, how come Golden Boy's and putting him out there and stuff? But you know, it's good that you're able to tell people like, no, man, it's out of my control. It's the injuries and stuff like that. So that's the good part about it.
I went missing for a while, but that when I come back, it's going to be a big bang, man. I'm going to come strong, not letting anybody stop me. I've gone through too much, man, to just let it all go like that.
Where do you see? Because you said you could, you know, at 122 you should be able to stay at that weight class for quite a while. That you'd be able to make that weight very comfortably. But where can you see your ceiling at, like, or your max weight? Like, okay, I think I can make it to this weight eventually in my professional career, and this is where I'll end up. Have you ever thought about that?
No, not really. Like I said, I take it step by step. You know, I got to capture a title at 118 after everything happened with the weight incident. They asked me if I would be willing to go back to 118 and try to fight for another title. I thought it was a sign that my body was telling me to move up. And so we moved up to 122, and I made 122 perfectly fine. I'm not very tall, so you know, moving much higher is depending on who's there or whatnot. You know, they're fights that are great fights. Like I said, I'm a fighter, man. I ain't afraid of nobody. I'll fight anybody they put in front of me, any big names. But you know, I'm not gonna go and call somebody out when I'm not even at that weight class. So you know, like I said, I'm gonna take it one step at a time. 122, see how it goes, see how my body feels, and then from there, you know, if God lets me win a world title at 122, see how that goes. Hopefully, capture 2 titles at that weight class, and then if the fight's right, the money's right, you know, move it to 126.
Randy, I'd just like to get your opinion before we let you go on one of your Golden Boy stablemates who fought this weekend, Ryan Garcia.
What did you catch his fight? You know, what did you think about his performance and you know?
I did not get to see it because I actually own 2 businesses out here where I live. I own a barbershop, and then I own a party rental company that my wife kind of runs that, being the fact she decorates parties and stuff like that. So we do tend to get busy on the weekends. So by the time I was done working on Saturday, I was kind of worn out and I was tired. I was like, I'm not even gonna go. But you know what? Ryan Garcia, I've known that kid since we were little kids. He actually stayed at our house a couple times. You know, my brothers fought him in the amateurs. You know, we've known him and his family for forever, man, since amateurs. And the kid's great, very talented kid. You know, he's very young, a big fan base that follows him. You know, this kid's only what I think he's. I don't even think he's 21 years old.
I don't
the kid
think he
has
is.
No, he's like
2-point-something million followers. Like,
he's
man,
20
I'm dying. I'm trying to get to 10, and he's over here with 2 million. But like I said, man, they're taking care of him really good, just the way they should. You know, but once that time comes that you step in for a world title, it's time to separate the social media and all that and focus on that world title fight, because fighting for a world title, especially at that weight class that he's at, they were big names, tough fighters that's been around the game for years, you know, that's been in the pros for years, so they know the ins and outs. You got Mikey Garcia, Lomachenko, that other guy that has the IBF title.
Richard Comey.
Yes, they're all great fighters, so it's not going to be a walk in the park. You know, these fighters that they're putting in front of him are tough kids. Don't take anything away from him. They're tough opponents they put in front of him, but he's able to control them and dominate them. But, you know, once you get to that other level, you know, he's still not in that elite level where it's that top. But like I said, when he gets there, when they know the time's right and he takes that opportunity, I hope and pray to God that he's 100% ready. Because like I said, I've known him for years. I wish nothing but the best for him. And you know, the way they're taking careers in an amazing way. And I wish nothing but the best. But, you know, unfortunately, I did not get to see his fight. Like I said, I did see the highlights, which was pretty much the whole fight. You know, he stopped him in 2 rounds.
Right.
Ryan's and I think, you know, the move he made going with Canelo's team, I think it was a great move for him. You know, the kid needed something different, a spark into his career, and I think that's what it was. And you can see a big difference inside the ring with the team he has now.
Being older, Randy, and, you know, an ex-world champion yourself, do you try and help the younger guys coming through, you know, give them advice like you just told us about, you know, trying to stay off the social media and concentrate on training and stuff like that?
No, most definitely. I when I talk to some kids that, you know, not even the kids that are coming up, I get, you know, guys that are older than I am that you know, ask for advice, and I give it to them. I tell them, because the advice that I've gotten when I was coming up, you know, from Julio Diaz, you know, the Diaz brothers out where I live, you know, advice that he's given me from the first fight that I had, you know, he told me, look, man, this is no game. Because when you're in there, it's do or die. They're in there to kill you. So it's either you kill him or they kill you. And like I said, still to this day, I walk into the ring every time I step in the ring, and my mind is the same way because of what he told me. So there are advices that you get little by little from everybody, and you soak them in, you keep them. And it's like other fighters. It's like, for instance, if I was to tell Ryan, and it's whether he keeps it or not, that's upon him. But like I said, I give the utmost respect to any fighter, any man that steps inside that ring, or woman that steps inside that ring. I take my hat off to them. You know, I give as much advice as I can. Whether they keep it or not, that's on them. But like I said, you live and learn in the sport. You can be, you know, Bernard Hopkins in his last fight, and I'm sure he was still learning till that day in the sport of boxing, because in this sport, you will never stop learning.
What did you think about Andrew Cancio? You know, with his big win over Machado. I mean, that was a huge moment, man. Did you? Man,
I was actually there for that fight, and that right there brought so much memories back when I fought for a title. Just to see that man was amazing. Cancio has gone through so much, the ups and downs. After you know, being a superstar, he sold out arenas. Blythe came and supported him more than 100%. He brought a lot of people to follow him to all those fights at Fantasy, and you know, every time he came up short, and then you know, Golden Boy letting him go, and then him coming back for a title fight like that and winning in that kind of fashion, and that was amazing to see the crowd going crazy. It just gave me the chills just thinking about it. Like that was an amazing moment for him. And I told him, you know what, man, all the hard work you put inside that gym and not giving up. You know, most fighters were like, you know what, I'm done. Like I'm not going to do it no more. I always get the short end of the stick every single time, and I'm not going to do it anymore. And he came back, and I think with the motivation of his kids that he gave him, you know, he was like, man, my kids gave me that motivation. They told him, hey, come back, Dad. You You still have it in you. You still can win a world title. And he did. He listened to him. And sometimes your kids are right. But you know what? Like I said,
don't
man,
say that too many times.
That right there is a story that's going to go in history. What he's gone through.
That's awesome. And yeah, we were also there for that fight, and that was I don't think that I've ever heard that place as loud,
like a storybook ending,
as it was on that night, man. That place was loud. I felt like the roof was gonna come out.
It did.
But just wrapping up here, Randy, we appreciate you calling in, especially after our rescheduled one last week. And we wish you the best of luck and your rehab therapy in the next few months, and hopefully you can come back sooner rather than later. So before we let you go ahead and plug your barbershop, man. Plug your companies. Plug whatever you want. Anything you got coming up, throw it out there.
I just want to say thank you guys for having the show. I appreciate all the support that all my fans have given me, that still give me till today, that's always by my side. I love, walking to the fights at Fantasy or any fights that I go to, that to still feel that love from everybody is amazing, man. If you guys are ever in the Valley, you guys stop by, check out my barbershop. It's called El Matador Cut. I've been around we're going on 5 years now. I have, 6 amazing barbers in there. It's just a great shop to be at. One of the biggest shops, not because it's mine. I honestly do. It is one of the biggest shops in this valley. And then I own a party rental company that's called Caballero Party Rentals. My wife decorates parties, does all that amazing work. She always working, man. Every weekend we're always doing someone's party, man. It's amazing. Just to see the smiles on her face, what my wife does with all that work it's just an amazing thing. But you guys are more than welcome. Everybody can follow me on Instagram at Randy El Matador. Hopefully we can catch up to Ryan's followers, 2.5 million. I got a long way to go, but we can get there eventually.
That's the plan, man. That's the plan. Just remember if when you get to that 2.5 million, just remember, I remember when I threw it out there. I'm gonna catch up, and I did it. So.
Yeah. We gonna make sure. I'm gonna tell them too. I said, listen to my broadcast. I'm gonna catch up to you from there.
But yeah, once again, Randy El Matador Caballero of Golden Boy Promotions, 24 wins, 1 defeat, 14 wins by KO. Thanks again for calling in, Randy, and we wish you the best of luck in the future. And
thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
I'm sure we'll have you again on again in the future. So just let us know whenever you want to jump on, and we're more than happy to have you on.
Man, I'd love to. I'll let you guys know, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Randy. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Crazy, man. Crazy.
Some story.
He's always been one of my favorite fighters in that stable, and because I feel like he's been with Golden Boy for a long time now. I think he's technically, if you think about it, he's one of the veterans.
It's crazy to think he's only 28.
Yeah, he's essentially in his prime years. But it's unfortunate that he's been out of the ring for a couple of years. And there's a lot of people who probably forgot about his IBF world title win in 2014 and how he went to Monte Carlo. So yeah, he did, and that was at 118, right?
Yeah, that was before he moved up. Yeah.
So and that was essentially 5-6 years ago, or 5 years ago. So he was 23-ish at the time, 22, 23.
Yeah, and obviously like he kind of touched on. He probably thought everything was going to be smooth sailing. He's kind of reached the pinnacle of his career. Time to unify, and then obviously injury.
Yeah, man, the injuries. It's just
bitten by a scorpion.
Hey, man, that's crazy though. Hey, what a story that is, though, man. A lot of people probably didn't know that. What the hell, a scorpion. So that kind of adds some spice to.
So you don't find those in the motherland back home in England. You don't get scorpions.
In the UK. Nah, but over here in Southern California, well, at least in the desert, because he lives like we mentioned earlier, he lives in the Coachella Valley, which to a lot of people, when they hear the word Coachella, that's the big music festival that they have every year. They've had it for the last several years, and they always have big mainstream stars and DJs and musical acts and stuff, which is actually happening, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yeah, soon. Yeah.
So it's actually this month. So he lives in that area, in the Coachella Valley, where they have that music festival. That's why. So if you recognize that name, that's where he's at, living amongst the scorpions. So I should have asked him too. I wanted to ask him. I was like, so does this mean you're going to change your nickname from El Matador to the Scorpion?
That'd have been good.
Just you might as well go through all of it. Might as well. But like I said, we appreciate him calling in. But let's jump into fight reviews. like we touched on, we asked his opinion on Ryan Garcia this past Saturday, the 30th, March 30th, from the Fantasy Springs Casino in Indio, California, which is essentially the Coachella Valley. It's out in that general area. Ryan Garcia and his millions of followers on social media improves to 18-0 with 15 KOs as he stops Jose Lopez, who
he retired at the end of the second round.
He retired, actually. Yeah, you're right.
Retired on his stool.
Retired on the stool. Lopez was down in round 2, and then Ryan, like, as soon as he felt that shot, he was just kept going forward. He's like, all right, I'm going to end this. So, obviously, the place was sold out. It was sold out pretty quick after they announced the tickets. So, I mean, the kid's a draw. The kid's a draw, I mean, people might talk all this smack about him because, like, he's not ready. He's calling out all these guys. And this was his first fight at 135, right? He moved up from 130 to 135 to lightweight?
Yeah, I believe so.
So, what'd you think? Because Mike was actually there representing the last round in person right there in press row. What'd you think being there? Because it's a lot different, like we said, than watching it on TV when you're actually there.
Being there, it looked like he kind of touched on it at the end of the fight that he was trying to work on things. I think he kind of thought, this is a hand-picked fighter for him to win quite easily. So it looked like he was trying to touch on a few things that Eddie Reynoso had maybe done on in camp. And then probably towards the end of the first round, he kind of decided just to let his hands go. And then Lopez really wasn't throwing much. I think he only landed 8 punches in the 2 rounds. You couldn't really see too many improvements because the fight was over so quickly. As soon as, Ryan started to let his hands go, he was the taller fighter. His hand speed was, a lot quicker than the other guy, a lot quicker than Lopez. You could feel the punches. I'll give Ryan one thing. When he was hitting him, you could hear it. You could see he was making an impact on him.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like Ryan because I've always been not negative towards him.
On the fence?
Yeah, on the fence because of... It's just that his social media following and people talk about him so much.
I mean, it's true.
At the minute, his actual...
But I mean, you got to look at it from the business perspective. Like, I get it. You know,
yeah.
Like, look at all the... everybody, when you get to a certain level in any type of business, sport, like, look at Mayweather. Look at how big a superstar he is, and he still has a bunch of haters.
Yeah.
Like even
I'm not a hater, Danny. I'm not a hater.
Okay, I'm not calling you a hater. I'm not calling you a hater. But it just happens. I mean, you got to look at it from like Golden Boy's perspective. Like, yeah, maybe like the kid's kind of biting off more than he can chew in terms of like trying to get into Twitter wars with Gervonta Tank Davis and all these other fighters.
Saying he schooled Lomachenko in sparring.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like at the end of the day, it associates his name with those bigger fighters and who are like some of the bigger names in the world in the sport of boxing. So like, yeah, people look at it like, oh, well, he get killed by these guys. Well, yeah, he would. Yeah. Realistically, like everybody knows that, and they know that. I think even Tank Davis and he has even said in interviews like, yeah, let him get a couple more fights. Let him, like he knows, like let him develop himself a little bit more, and then as it gets down the line, we can clash. It's like they know, like yeah, if we fight him right now, we're gonna kill him. And I think Golden Boy knows. I think everybody knows that. But it's the guy selling tickets. The guy's selling tickets, and he's popular. He has a platform. So as a businessman, as a business, a Golden Boy, who obviously they need money to survive. It's a business. He's selling tickets. So and yeah, I know some people. I saw some criticism online, like his opponent on this past Saturday, Jose Lopez, was ranked like 100 and something in the world. 135th or something like that. Like, so, and they're like, oh, why is he fighting this guy? Like, I mean, it's kind of like people are trying to like getting confused about like they're blurring the lines with his popularity and his talent.
Yeah,
do you get what I'm saying?
That's his problem, that he's so popular in the social media
world. So people
world.
expect you to be that good as your popularity.
Yeah, and like you touched on, he's hanging around with Canelo. He's in Canelo's camp. He's then kind of calling out Gervonta. He's calling out, saying that he beat Lomachenko up in sparring. He's also sparred with Linares. So to the people who don't know boxing so well, they're kind of looking at, oh, okay, if you're saying all this, let's get you in the ring. Let's get you in with Gervonta. Let's get you in with Loma if you're claiming that you've schooled them. Also getting into the beef with Rolly from Mayweather's camp.
Oh, I think that it's just for, I don't know. And I know Ryan called out Mayweather like at the end, like he's like, oh, Mayweather's team or something, like I'm here. I'm not afraid of anybody. I get it. He just came off on like a stoppage win, so he was on a high. And I mean, you don't think the Golden Boy PR told him like, hey, here's some talking points after, kind of fuel the fire. I mean, like, at times they probably don't want him to say certain things, but like at the end of the day, like, well, it's growing his popularity, and he's been on like certain shows or podcasts. He's been on morning news out here in LA, and then he's been like, who's that guy? He's like a famous YouTube guy. Oh, what's the guy's name? He was like on his podcast or something.
I don't really watch
I forgot, but he's big with kids. He's big with kids, young people. Oh, I forgot. It slipped my mind. But I know that got him a lot of publicity and stuff like that. But
he'll be on Joe Rogan soon.
You never know. Man. I mean, maybe not anytime soon, but hey, if he could,
he touched on having his baby.
That's true.
Which I didn't think he would.
Yeah,
he touched on, was it Riley?
Riley, yeah, Riley. That's her name.
Congratulations
to him.
This victory was.
I mean, congratulations to him on being a dad. Young guy.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he knows what he got himself into. Being 20 years old and being a dad. But hey, that's cool. Congratulations to him. That's a big moment. So
what's
hopefully,
next? What's next for him?
Second baby.
Well, I meant fight wise, but
I thought you meant. I thought we were talking about medical stuff right here. I thought we were becoming doctors, physicians. So I was like, like I don't want to get sued or charged for practicing medicine without a license. So don't get me with that. But in terms of what's next, I feel like when we ask that question after fights, we make it, 'cause it's more to set up like, okay, are they going to fight this prominent guy, this world champion, or title eliminator and stuff like that. I think the next probably 5 fights for Ryan, every time we ask that question, what's next? We're going to be like, it's probably going to be somebody else who he should look good against. Because, like, obviously, like, this is only his second fight under Eddie Reynoso, who, like you mentioned, is the head trainer of Canelo Alvarez.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan's down there in San Diego, or at least for fight camps, is down there training with the Reynosos. And then he's probably also there watching Canelo train, which is great, because Canelo's obviously one of the best, if not the best boxer in the world. So, like, hey, I wouldn't complain about that either. Like, hey, I mean, probably Golden Boy.
He's surrounded by the right people now.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
I think it's great. So, so hopefully, I kind of wanted to see a little bit more rounds this past Saturday to kind of see a little bit. I mean, but he saw the shot and he took it, and the guy stopped, so he quit on the stool. So, but I think like the most insight that we got into him as a fighter was when he fought, was it Morales?
See, yeah.
Because they went all, what was it? Was it a 10-rounder?
It was a 10-rounder, yeah.
And they went all, he took them all 10. And I know he won, but like, Morales.
But he didn't look good in that fight.
He did not look good.
Even though
he won the fight.
He won the fight, but when Morales was just caught him flush with a jab.
Yeah.
He closed his eyes.
Right.
That's a big no-no in terms of professional boxing.
Yeah.
You get caught by a jab and you close your eyes as if you're hurt. Oh shit! I don't really want to
protect yourself at all times. Just ask Victor Ortiz that.
The problem he has is kind of like we touched on his social media and stuff like that. He's actually ranked 35th in the world,
and he fought the 135th guy ranked in the world.
The problem being is
and we're talking about when we're talking about rankings, we're talking about BoxRec. Right,
which is the be all and end all.
What is the be all and end all? Yeah, because people are like, what rankings are they looking at? Like,
because he's above Felix Verdejo, he's above Mickey Bay, he's above Edna Cherry, Denis Shavakov.
That's some pretty significant
Romero
names.
Duno, which is a Golden Boy fighter.
Romero Duno. Hey, you know what? I could see. Well, Duno fights at what one? What does he fight at?
According to this, he's at lightweight.
So they're both at 135.
According to
but
this,
see, though,
Duno's tiny.
But I think Duno would still. Is more talented than he is.
I would like to see him win with a puncher.
I think Duno, that's intriguing.
Yeah.
That's intriguing. But I think, even Golden Boy knows, like, we can't put him in with him.
Because Jose Lopez, I think he landed 8 punches, but you could see even when he was up close and they kind of, had a little bit of hugging and, Ryan was trying to get him on his inside game. Lopez, he was hitting him, but there was nothing. There was no pop at all.
Right.
It seems like so far they've just stuck him in with really people who don't bang.
Right.
nobody that's going to test his chin and nobody that's going to hit him and, take him into deep waters where, Ryan's kind of like, oh, shit, this is what it's like to be a professional boxer.
Yeah.
I understand, they're wrapping him in cotton wool because he's another cash cow. They've got Canelo, then they've got Ryan. But
it's called development, man. I mean,
eventually they're going to have to.
I get it, man. Like, I mean, you had a PO, like you said, like people are you're like, oh, he's so cocky online and he does this and that. And, I mean, I understand, but like from a business perspective, like, hey, like it's always when you have the combo, if you have talent and you're popular, for a promoter, that's great. Because like, oh, well, you can back it up and you sell tickets and you're a draw and you have a platform. Obviously, that's great. But I mean, like, at least having one side of that is a lot better than having none of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, you get guys who are great boxers, they go 12 rounds, but they can't sell tickets.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, one of the problems a little bit with Andre Ward. It was great. And nobody wanted to fight him.
And I liked Andre Ward too. He was one of my favorite fighters. I've always liked the guy. But you're right though. And we're not dogging him. Like I know sometimes people get mad and stuff like that. But it's true though. I mean, you got to look at the reality of stuff.
If anything, I want Ryan Garcia to do well because he's a local fighter. I want all the guys around here to do well.
Why wouldn't you want the guy to do well?
Because he's going to bring big fights to this area. I like going to see him in Fantasy Springs because it's sold out. Last year ago, 2 years ago, you'd go to those Thursday afternoon fights and
oh my gosh,
a handful of people, now you've got
but now they're moving them to like Saturdays, which is even better. So like, hey, the ticket sales
which is good.
Up.
I just hope that eventually the popularity and his actual boxing IQ and his skills in the ring match. I don't want it to be down the line he gets to one of those like a B-level fighter who can bang, who can pop. As soon as he gets caught on the chin clean for the first time, lights out. So I'm hoping that they're giving him, which I imagine they will be, being in that camp. He's getting some good sparring. He's in with some guys who are roughing him up, because he's got that clean-cut image. And you've seen those YouTube videos from when he fought Rolly, where as soon as he kind of got hit, he kind of like turned his back.
Yeah.
He's kind of, I don't want any part of this.
Right, yeah.
So I'm hoping that, I'm sure, they trained Canelo, so they're going to be giving him some.
Yeah, I'm sure they know. Like, I mean, I guarantee you that there's been moments in camp, for this past camp or the past two camps that they've had him, that Eddie Reynoso had him, where they've kind of like pushed him in a sparring session or something else to push him like, hey, and I'm sure there's been moments where he might have shown something. They're not going to say it. They're not going to talk about it, but that's what you need to do. You need, obviously, as a new trainer for that fighter, Eddie Reynoso, like he needs to see what, in person, what the strengths and weaknesses are. He's like, okay, I'm going to push you. And then, I'm going to try to get you to your limit, see what, so then I can say like, okay, that's what I need to work on, I'm sure it's happened, but they're not going to talk about it, which, I get it. What happens in the gym stays in the gym.
I do wish at times that, even though he's already got a huge social media game, I do wish at times that, I do wish at times he went, off the radar.
Yeah.
He just went into camp and there was nothing for a while,
But if he does, though, like, what, like, I get it. As
you know what I mean?
As a dedication to boxing.
Yeah. Like
I get it, because even Canelo said that because Canelo was at the fights on Saturday.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if we touched on that, but Canelo was there.
I was there, Danny.
Well, yeah, but we didn't say it to our listeners. But Canelo was there on the fights on Saturday. He trains in San Diego, which is a couple hour, like maybe 3.5, 4 hour drive from down there or something. I don't know, unless he took like a private helicopter or something. I don't know. But Canelo, like they asked him after who's in the ring for the post-fight interview, and Canelo was like, yeah, kept it pretty general in terms of encouragement, saying, yeah, he just, he needs to dedicate his life or dedicate his craft to the sport of boxing, kind of get out of all these distractions and stuff like that. So, I mean, who better than to learn from Canelo? Because Canelo at a young age was essentially in the same spot. Yeah, Canelo was a lot more like, I guess humble and a lot more quiet and stuff like that. But like,
he turned pro at like 15.
Yeah, but like by 19, 20, he was already getting significant fights. He was on HBO. He was on big platforms. He fought Sugar Shane Mosley at like 20, 21 years old.
Well, he had that fight. He had that kind of.
And he fought Mayweather at 22.
Well, he had that crossroads fight kind of early on where he fought Cotto's brother.
That's true.
Where he lost.
Yeah.
He was nearly out in round one.
Yeah. And then, but he came back.
Yeah.
He came back. Yeah. So, like you said, whose camp is better to be in than Canelo's camp, essentially, to be associated with that team and his trainers, especially because Ryan is a young guy. He's popular. He's undefeated. They're both in the same promotional company. I think that was a great move. and hopefully it pans out.
Yeah.
But, whether people are talking smack about him because he's not fighting top level guys or whatever, at least they're talking about him.
Exactly.
His name's out there, and like you said, like, especially because he's a local guy over here in Southern California, and for the sport of boxing, like, yeah, people are like, oh, I want to see him get knocked out or something like that. Like, well, if he becomes a superstar, 5, 6, 7 years down the line, like, Canelo levels or Mayweather, just speaking hypothetically, why wouldn't that be good for the sport? I mean, who really out there is like, yeah, Canelo and Joshua are the stars, but like, in terms of like Mayweather status, even Pacquiao status, like they're like elite levels in terms of like notoriety and popularity and stuff like that. So, it is what it is. But like we said, what's next for him? It's a couple more developing fights. I
agree.
Get his confidence up. Work on techniques.
I think they'll pick different types. They'll go for like a heavy-handed, then a southpaw, someone who's tricky, just so he sees every type of fight.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. So we understand. Then going down quickly on that card, there was also a WBO World Flyweight title fight on there, which a lot of people, obviously the main event was Ryan, but Angel Acosta stops. What is it? Another Lopez, actually. Is it Ganigan?
Ganigan Lopez?
Ganigan Lopez in the 8th round for the WBO World Flyweight title. So you were there. What'd you think?
Good fight. Kind of struggled early on. You could see, Angel Acosta just goes for big hooks the whole time. Eventually managed to get him out of there in the 8th round, and Angel moved to 20 wins, 1 loss with 20 KOs. So an exciting fighter to watch. Another one, hopefully Golden Boy will keep and work with him, get him up there because, everyone loves a KO.
Everyone loves a KO. Everybody loves it. And then moving on, also on that card, Eduardo Hernandez remains undefeated. 28-0, 25 KO. That's a pretty solid record. As he gets the knockout in the second round against Ibrahim Mgender.
He's definitely one to watch, I'd have said. Eduardo Hernandez, I put that on our Twitter. Another big, heavy-handed fighter who comes in, all action. Definitely, I think he'll be one to watch. He'll be a fan's favorite.
Right. And then Joet Gonzalez, which he wasn't actually on the television portion on the DAZN stream. I think I saw some because he's promoted he's managed by I think Espinoza.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And I think they voiced some opinions on Twitter or online saying, "Hey man, how come Joet isn't on the television portion?"
Really?
Like I saw that. So, but Joet Gonzalez, who also his brother's also a fighter, Joust. But Joet gets the knockout in the 5th round, improves to 21-0 over Rodrigo Guerrero for the WBO NABO featherweight title. Guerrero was down in rounds 1 and 4, and then eventually got stopped in the 5th round. 21-0. That's
Good
pretty
fighter.
solid.
I think I like Joet Gonzalez. He always comes in. He always looks in shape. Good cardio. I think he picks his punches well. He's definitely got, I think, a good boxing IQ. You can see that, when he had him hurt, it wasn't just, like flying in with the hooks. He'd be the uppercuts. He'd be slipping around the side. I think he definitely picks his punches well. And I think if he's matched well, I think he'll go far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, the record's pretty solid. It's not like he's like 10-0 or something. He's 21-0. So
he's got Espinoza around him, so he's got a good team. So
because Oscar Valdez also managed by the Espinoza and stuff like that. So it's a pretty solid stable mate right there. And then returning for the first time since his loss in Fresno against super lightweight world champion, WBC super lightweight world champion Jose Ramirez, Antonio Orozco comes back and gets a unanimous decision win in 10 rounds over Jose Luis Rodriguez by scores of 99-91, 97-93, and 97-93 again. How did Orozco look? I mean, because I don't think that wasn't on the television swing bout.
It was the first fight at Fantasy Springs. Surprisingly,
that was the first fight.
It was the first fight.
Wow. Yeah. And maybe it was just more like just to kind of get him back in the rhythm. I mean, I get it.
I thought he'd have been, he's still a bit of a name. He obviously just had a recent world title fight. I thought he'd have been further down the card, but it was just a walkout bout, for him, really, just to, get out there, blow off the cobwebs of, losing last time, get himself back in the win column. But I thought that he made hard work of it. maybe he couldn't get himself up for the fight and, something like that. But I thought someone of his pedigree and, coming back from a world title fight, I thought he'd have gone in there and just blown him out. He doesn't really have too much of a defense. His defense is really just taking shots with his head. And I thought, in a fight like that, he's taking like punishment he didn't really need to take. But, he won it convincingly on the cards. But it was a strange fight.
It was a strange fight.
Yeah, it's just I thought he was someone who was 28-1.
I like him too. I've always liked him.
I do. He's a good fighter to watch. Definitely fan friendly because of his lack of defense. And
that Ramirez fight was exciting.
Yeah, it was a good fight, and he throws a lot of punches. But yeah, it was kind of strange.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Was hopefully he picks it up, and then maybe this helped him kind of get back in the rhythm. Because he's still 28-1. Young guy. So hopefully it works out. Hopefully he wasn't mentally defeated by that Ramirez loss.
I mean, he won a lot of fans in the fight against Ramirez. Everyone who watched the fight, they loved it. It was back and forth.
Even though he lost, like he fought hard, and they were like, "This is great."
He's one of those TV fighters.
Yeah,
that someone like Top Rank, ESPN, they're going to be like, "Hey, he was good. The fans loved it. Had everyone on the feet." Well, he didn't win, but we'll have him back. He's definitely a good challenger.
Oh yeah, which is good. Like that's all you can ask for.
He's going to earn good money.
Yeah, so that works. And then moving on, also on Saturday. From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the city of brotherly love. On ESPN, The Nail. That's one of my favorite nicknames in the whole sport. The Nail. Alexander Gvozdyk. In a weird calf injury against, I can never pronounce his name. Pronounce it for me.
Ngumbu, I think.
Ngumbu. TKO, technical knockout in the 5th round for Gvozdyk, who retains his WBC light heavyweight title, right? Ngumbu was unable, that was a tongue twister, was unable to continue due to his calf injury, as I mentioned. So, what happened there? I mean, Gvozdyk's one of the best light heavyweights at the moment,
Yeah,
he's trained by Teddy Atlas, too, which is the fireman.
If to have him in your corner is obviously, you're going to got a lot of experience in there. He's going to tell you how it is. Teddy Atlas doesn't hold back. I thought, after his, he beat Stevenson, and in that fight, I thought he looked really good. Great game plan, staying away from, Stevenson's left hand, which was what, won in most of his fights.
Yeah, that was his weapon.
But in this one, he didn't look as sharp. He kind of struggled his way. He was winning, but to fight in, essentially, Ngumbu wasn't really a name. He was just kind of like a voluntary defense against somebody. I thought he could have looked better. But whether he was going to be, he was just going to take him into the later rounds and then obviously, wear him down like he did with Stevenson, I don't know. But I'd like to see him back out again.
The Nail.
Against somebody else. He's in a good category. You've got Bivol, Callum
put him against Bivol, man.
You got Kovalev, Callum Johnson and Joe Smith are supposed to be fighting each other.
That whole division right now is ridiculously stacked.
Beterbiev.
Yeah.
So there's some big fights to be had down the line.
Fights to be made. So I'm looking at that weight class very closely. And then quickly moving on to wrap up the show, the Matchroom card from the Echo Arena, the motherland, Liverpool. Liam Smith gets the TKO in the 5th round against Sam Eggington for the vacant WBC Silver Super welterweight title.
Silver Super.
Now that's a tongue twister.
That's what Liam Smith, when he was a kid, I'm sure
he's like, I want to win the WBC Silver Super.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what you fight for. But I caught a little bit of this fight, and I think Liam Smith just looked levels above Sam Eggington.
Do you think he should have been stopped earlier?
From what I saw, maybe.
Yeah.
At least it was in the 5th and not later. But I think Smith is just the overall.
I think Eggington as well. Like he lost. He moved up to that weight category, and then they gave him a kind of a gimme fight, and he ended up getting knocked out. And then in this fight, I think Eggington may be done.
Yeah. So, but Smith is still there. He's still going to try and do his thing.
Calling out Jaime Munguia after the fight.
Well, Smith did give, even though he lost that fight, Smith did, his boxing ability, he did get some shots in.
Yeah.
So I think he knows, I can beat this guy. So, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again. I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I like Liam Smith, Yeah,
he won some fans over here. People at my work, after the fight, they said that English guy did well.
Yeah, see? So that works. Yeah. See, the casuals. The filthy casuals, that's what you got to go after. The casual fans, man. That's where the money's at. And then quickly, Scott Fitzgerald improves to 13-0 with the split decision win over Anthony Fowler, 95-94 twice. and 94-96 for the vacant WBA International Super Welterweight title. Man, it just never stops with these titles, does it? Fowler was down in the 10th round. This got a lot of press too. I know Eddie Hearn gave a couple interviews about this, and he was excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Fowler was going into the fight as favorite after being part of the Olympic 2012 boxing team. Those two were going back and forth a lot for weeks and weeks and weeks on Twitter.
Yeah,
talking trash to each other, and then Fowler,
they even had like a little face-off, I think.
Yeah, and they kind of the usual where they were going back and forth at the face-off. But
yeah,
one thing I didn't like, I watched the fight. I thought Fitzgerald won it by a few rounds. You could tell listening to the commentary that Sky Sports were obviously backing Fowler. I thought the commentary was pretty poor. Johnny Nelson had, like Fowler about 12 rounds up as usual. He's just biased towards the Sky team. It was terrible. But
you sound so disappointed.
I was glad that Fitzgerald got it because it was in Liverpool. Fowler is a Liverpool fighter. So as soon as it was close and he knocked him down in the 10th, and then Fitzgerald kind of started to showboat a little bit, and I'm like, dude, go for the knockout because you're in this guy's home.
You're yelling at the screen.
I was like, go for the knockout, dude. I was like, because this is his back garden. Like, if it was close, you can see it was close.
You need the knockout to get the win in his backyard.
To cement it.
It.
So I was kind of thinking, dude, I think if the scorecards go the way I think it's going to be, he's going to lose.
Right.
But luckily, the right guy won, which is all that matters.
But then moving on, wrapping up here, Mike Tyson
is back.
Kind of. David Price, heavyweight matchup, gets the strange win. The 5th round disqualification as his opponent, Cash Ali, is disqualified for essentially tackling him, and he falls on top of David Price, and then his head kind of is on top of his stomach, and then he bites him on his stomach. What the hell was that?
Which led to one of the best things I've ever read on Twitter.
Which was?
Somebody posted, "Is David Price halal?"
That's stupid. Get out of here. Get out of here with that. But yeah, he bit him on the stomach. And then there's photos out there. If you look online, David Price has a bite mark on on his left side of his stomach. Because he's
kind of around his ab area.
Yeah, in the ab area. The guy, he bit him. He kind of tackled him on the floor, and then he kind of fell on top of him, and then he put his head down and he bit him on the stomach. And then you can see David Price yelling at the referee, "Hey, what the hell? He's biting me."
Fair place to Cash Ali that, it was a stupid, ridiculous thing to do, and obviously the British Board of Boxing have, taken away his license, obviously, until they look into it. But at least he admitted it. He didn't say, he didn't come up with something stupid like, I bit him by accident. He just sort of said, the street mentality that I have just, got the better of me when I was in the ring with him. And I was like, I was like, okay, at least you didn't, make some feeble excuse, which, plenty of people would have done.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. David Price did say after the fight that he believes that Ali was looking for a way out during that fight, which is why he bit him and got DQ'd, which I can be inclined to believe. So who knows? But that that got a lot of attention on ESPN and stuff. So I guess it helped the publicity. So I was like, hey, the guy, he bit me. So it is what it is. But wrapping up here, we appreciate Randy El Matador Caballero calling in to this week's episode 27 of The Last Round. We apologize for the unfortunate hiatus last week. And then, we never touched on that. On this past Saturday, you had Ryan sign your back, right? You were going to get a tattoo. Yeah. So Mike has a tattoo of Ryan Garcia's signature with a heart.
If anybody wants to win it.
Everyone wants to win it. I don't know how you're going to win it, but we appreciate it. Thank you for listening. We're back. We should have no more. Well,
no fight previews this week.
No fight previews this week because there's no
big fights.
There's no big fights.
April 12th and 13th.
There's always smaller fights everywhere, so we're not insulting anybody. We're just we try to keep the show around an hour. Try to keep it cool, but
some big ones next week though. We've got Lomachenko Crawler, Clarissa Shields against Christina Hammer. And then Jaime Munguia against Dennis Hogan. So we'll
touch on those next week. But once again, I'm Danny Z for Michael Shepard. This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is